Oh, well, for one thing, I'll answer the second part first. It really tethers me to my ethos, which the tagline of my company name, Horticulture, is it's horticulture with heart. Um,
Uh-huh.
and that even the tagline, I use that because when people, if I'm on the phone talking with, to a vendor or something, I say horticulture, and I say it looks like it's horticulture with heart, in front. So they can have picture it and spell it. I don't. I try, and I wanted to avoid a company name that required too much spelling or explaining or like hard to remember. So sometimes I feel like, is this a good name? Because it's horticulture, it's not really a real word, but it really hasn't been a problem. And because I say horticulture with heart, it just people picture, oh yeah, horticulture. And so, it's hasn't been an issue in terms of, and people remember it because I think that's one.
It's unique. It's
It's
unique.
unique, but it really is my ethos. Is like bringing our love of planet and plants and all the creatures that visit our gardens, keeping that all in mind, not spraying arbitrarily, using sustainable methods and hand tools and this kind of stuff. It's all about like treating your garden and practicing horticulture with heart, So that's really, yeah, just talking through different names. And it left me open because my emphasis started with edibles, like taking agriculture to people's backyards, um, and then working design into that. And so it's sort of like it didn't box me in too much. Like some people choose a name and it doesn't let them do other things as easily. It feels like a bit of a random departure if they go into edibles or into other things. So, and I don't mean pot edibles. I mean, I
Right.
mean,
No, I
yeah.
understand. I understand.
Mhm. Oh, and
Yeah,
so many names were very like green, something green, this. And I guess just the marijuana industry has like just that's like rainbow is one thing and green now means marijuana. So you have to be very careful when things, check the name of
were
the
you
plant.
tempted at all to use your own name?
No. I wanted it to say more. I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to say
yeah, yeah.
more. Yeah. So a horticulture, and I could right away, I wanted a company name that I could have a logo that was a mark all of its own, like the apple, right? You don't need to see the word apple. You just see an apple and you know right away it's apple. So I have my lace logo. And so it's like, that's horticulture.
It is interesting that since we're in the design profession,
Hmm.
even because I've it took me a long time to figure this out that gardening was not landscaping. They're two different things.
Yeah.
What I used to do was tear everything apart, put it all back together, and leave.
Right.
And
Right.
that has nothing to do with gardening.
Hmm.
And in future meetings, I want to talk about the topic that I brought up at the conference that you invited me to when I talked about generating recurrent revenue, which
Hmm.
oddly enough, with your fine gardening services, is dealing with the issue that I was kind of addressing all those years ago when I first met you. The fact that real gardens are in constant state of design.
Yep. Yep.
Do you find in your fine gardening service that your customers understand that you're not just taking care of things, but you're actively trying to make it more beautiful all the time?
Yes, and just for the record, I've stopped doing the fine gardening, and now I focus entirely on design and garden consulting. And even when I was doing fine gardening, I also sold myself as a garden consultant and garden coach because I had a lot of clients that wanted to work with me and learn and be out there next to me in their grubby clothes as well, and we were just hands-on together. And so I was teaching them to really care for their gardens, and I would tell them, I'm happy to work myself out of a job here. Like if I get you to a place where your garden is, really needs minimal help from you or me or anybody, then that's great. So let's let nature do its thing as much as possible. And they were happy to hear that as well. But there's always stuff to do, and it is you're a garden. Interestingly, we're kind of trying to keep it at that sort of 10-year mark because um,
What do you
everything's
mean
a
by that?
progression. Well, so, you have like the pioneer plants, the weeds and stuff, and then you have the progression to forest eventually. And so that's just over time. It can take 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years or something. But we're trying to stop things from going too far beyond and keep things in their size and shape and in a perspective that we want. We don't want the bigger stuff to take over and shade out everything. So we have to plan for that. We want a big tree, we want if we can fit it, but we're still trying to keep the garden in a place of It does. Things grow, and the thing is, the most challenging thing is the plant labels because the growers are often in other parts of the country and they don't understand or they don't plan for labels for California where we have, 300 something days of growing capacity. So, I have a grevillea outside my window and it's supposed to be 6 feet tall, 8 feet wide, and that was going to be just perfect. And
Hmm.
this sucker, my goodness, I have taken, and I feel terrible. It's not sustainable to keep pruning things down, but it would easily be 14 feet wide.
If
And
you let it, if you let
yeah, I
it.
let it. I've already had it be about 10 or 12, and then the wind comes and it breaks. And then it's like 10 feet tall. So you can do your best efforts to plan, but there's still going to be this surprise of how things actually work. And then we have some clients have a plant that you used 20 minutes away and it stayed 4 feet tall, and now it's like 8 feet in this person's garden. And so I don't know if it's the gene pool from the different grower, or if it's just they have this magic soil and combination of light and water that's working so well for that plant and the nutrients in the soil. But so there's always surprises. So we're always trying to kind of keep things in this place we want them to be
Hmm.
at that age of, that kind of perfect like 7 to 10 year mark. It's a challenge, but part of the fun is that watching it change, right?
Yeah. Um, uh, Gordon Courtwright, who ran East Bay Nursery, who was kind of my mentor in a lot of the stuff I've done in my career, he made the point that pruning is a lost art.
Oh, that is my
How did you acquire your pruning skills?
okay. Um, I I think I just really identify with well, there are two mantras that like hiking and camping use. Like one is like leave no trace, and the other, right? And the
Uh-huh.
other is leave a site better than you found it.
Right.
So I like to do any intervention and have it be nicely done and minimally done, but properly done so that people walk by and don't say, "Oh my gosh, who hacked away at that plant?" You know? So if I can do it in a way that you can't hardly even see where the cuts were or like what's missing, I really try and think about where each leaf I'm cutting back to or stem or branch is growing, and that's going to help the improve the appearance of the plant, not just because that's the right height. Because if you cut to a point where it's growing into the plant, well then you're going to have a terribly shaped plant. So um, I really just, for me, pruning is like my zen place, and it's funny because I can meditate kind of over pruning and I love it, but I also try to do as little as possible because you're actually kind of taking water out of the soil and you're just shipping it off. People, if you have to prune too much, they're not composting. A lot of these urban gardens don't even have room for much of a compost pile. So you're really taking nutrients and water and just shipping it off to someone else, and then you're buying mulch to bring back some nutrients and help the soil. So whenever I can, I leave cuttings on the ground as extra mulch. But I just the pruning, I just think I just identify with, and I studied arboriculture too. So I think taking the arboriculture classes and really understanding how woody plants function and knowing that any cut you make is creating a wound. And the tree, the woody plant, the shrub will respond with a reactive growth automatically. It's going to want to replace that food source that you just took away, that branch with those leaves. So you have to prepare and time your pruning so that you don't create too much growth, witch's broom effect, and at the wrong time before frost or before a major heat wave. Like tomorrow is going to be 90 degrees. And so I can't do some pruning today because tomorrow and the next day are going to be incredibly hot. So
Yeah.
yeah, I always just trying to think about the knowledge that I've acquired and applying it, and just really caring about the plant and how it feels. When I do find a branch, I find myself saying, "Okay, this is dying at this tip," and I say to myself, "Okay, when's the last time you were happy?" And I find the nice where it was happy. Okay, down here is good,
Uh,
healthy growth. Okay, that's when it was happy.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know why for me it seemed more, and it may sound strange given that I'm bald now, but it always felt to me a little bit like hair cutting.
Hair cutting.
Yeah, and that's a
Well,
skill.
yeah,
That's
it's a skill. It's a
there's a
skill.
it's a you're cutting someone's hair to make them look better.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
the thing is, so that is a good analogy. I tell my clients that you should approach pruning like tweezing your eyebrows. because
I
every
know
once in
less
a while,
about that.
every once in a while, you got to step back and look at the whole thing and say, maybe put down the cut, the pruners, or put down the shears, because you can overdo it. And when you take this piece, now it's out of balance. You got to take that piece. Now it's out of balance. Got to take this piece. And so you like to step back. And at any one given time with a woody plant, maturity, you don't really want to take away more than 25%. It's good to, leave the cuttings on the ground where you can see them. Sometimes tree trimmers have guys that are just like cleaning up as they go, and they can't assess, like, did I take away, am I at 30% now? Am I at 15? Am I at 50%? Like, they don't really always, it's good to work fast, but also you should really have a sense of how much you're cutting back to, what's
You know,
healthy enough for the plant.
given how much skill and knowledge goes into these things,
Hmm.
how how can you quickly and efficiently market fine gardening services to set
Uh,
you apart from the mobile and go people? I mean, if you were to, if they had to listen to everything you just told me before they say,
mhm.
"Oh, that's why she charges this much," you wouldn't get any business. There's no quick and easy way to market that. So, what can someone do when they're trying to get started in fine gardening to overcome that comparison to old school mobile and go
Yeah.
style gardening?
Um, I think it's I think it's a good question. I think if you get yourself one client, have a chance to talk to one person about what you do, what you're studying, what you've learned, how you approach gardening and your business, your work. Um, then they'll often have neighbors who stop to talk to you. I mean, that's one thing I had to, as a problem is I'd be at someone's front yard, and the client, people walking by with their dogs would say, "Oh, what do you do? Oh, are you the gardener?" And so I couldn't charge the client for this time schmoozing with somebody else, But meanwhile, I'm like, I'm kind of on the clock here. I gotta finish up and go to two more houses. Um, keep your business cards with you and tell them you'd be happy to discuss it anytime, that you're not actually on someone else's clock.
Hmm.
And then they appreciate that because they know that you won't be charging them to do other stuff as well if you come work for them. Um, but yeah, getting at least one client and letting them tell their friends and neighbors how happy they are with your work, how much you know. I think just being free to talk about it when you go, to parties and stuff like that, go to a dinner somewhere, what you do and why you love
Yeah,
what you do. I think the passion I think the passion comes through when you talk about it. If you really love what you do and you like care for the plants, and you tell people, like, you get what you pay for. If you're happy with your mow and blow guys and these little snowball, shaped shrubs,
well,
and,
Gumby World, they call it.
yeah, yeah. And, then good for you. That's great. I'm happy to hear that. But if you want something that's really going to be, you know, uh, something to come home to that makes your heart sing, then I would love to come over and talk to you about your garden. And, you offer a consultation. I used to do free consultations, and that was great for getting new business. Now I charge for a consult, of course. But yeah, I feel like go and talk to some people and generate some new clients that way. And you can just, it grows.
That's interesting. We would work in one part of town sometimes for as long as a year, and we
Mm-hmm.
would be in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go from house to house to house to house. And I was in a partnership, so Cliff and I both designed and both set up, both bid on jobs and things. We kind of did a tag team sort of thing. So whoever
Mhm.
would win the job would run the job, and the other guy
Okay.
would try and run down new business, and then we'd
Right.
leapfrog like that.
Nice.
So we would work in a given neighborhood, or yeah, neighborhood for seemingly, 3, 4, 5 jobs,
Hmm.
until one of the other of us would get a job maybe in Montecito or Goleta or Hope Ranch or one of the other areas of Santa Barbara County. And then we'd be there for a month or
Wow.
2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So what you're saying rings true to me, because your best form of advertisement is the current job you're working on.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's high profile in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Yeah,
watching this transformation take place. So
for sure.
everyone's
Hmm.
recognize, if it's something that you're beautifying and it's looking better and better all the time, it's
Hmm.
being noticed. And
Yep.
it's, in a
Yep.
sense, it's a great big sign for
Yep.
horticulture,
Totally.
or
Totally.
in my case, a case of landscape.
There you go.
But getting that first one or the first couple to get that's extra hard. Did you did you find that you could maybe get a testimonial and use that in some handout of some sort? That if you secured your first few customers and they understood just the this advanced form of gardening that we're talking about,
Uh-huh.
could you get them to provide you with a testimonial that you could use to promote yourself to others?
You absolutely could. I never tried really. I never even started a website. I just I tried to do it. I started a Facebook page, business page, I don't know how many years ago, and I haven't done anything with it. It was sort of like a first foray into a place to dump some pictures of befores and afters, and I just never got around to using it. But you definitely could. I mean, testimonials seem to be very, very, very helpful. If someone's on social media, active on social media, um, I don't like to be too active on social media, only because I don't want to go down rabbit holes, so it's like my time is I'd rather be um, present in this world. But people who use social media, and there are people, I know other people in our industry that use it very well. And I truly believe it's kind of why they've gotten so big is because they use social media so well.
Yeah.
Videos, reels, shorts about what they're doing and what they're growing or how they've solved this problem. Tips. And then, of course, some testimonials and happy befores and afters of client projects. I also want to say I got a few clients even just by being at the garden centers and like nurseries. And I'd see somebody looking at a plant and I'd be like, that's an invasive plant. So I tell them, you might want to try this other thing that's invasive. What do
How
you do?
did you know
How do you
that?
know? Yeah. And so the conversation unfolds and you business card and there you go. So that was, just feeling open to approach people in a way that feels natural in the setting, is a great way of advertising yourself.
Can you talk about your first year in business and how that unfolded? I mean,
Um,
did you have stretches where of despair? Did you have did
oh.
things just fly into place right away? What was the transition from not being in this business whatsoever to building it up over the first 12 months?
Well, I was still taking classes. So I was just balancing my time between like actually going out and working and then around my class schedule and around the homework and, projects I was working on for school. And I have to say, Joy, I was just so excited. Everything I was learning, it was just so much fun. And so it was, I was lucky enough. So I had a business before this with my husband, doing recruiting for the advertising industry. And we're not big spenders, so we were able to save a lot of money. And then I do have that added comfort in terms of financial security of having a second person to share expenses with. So
Hmm.
I do think it's easy to say, "Oh yeah, I wasn't in despair," but had I been trying to pay San Diego rent or mortgage all by myself, might there have been some more despair? Sure. I think
Yeah, yeah,
you can't understate that disadvantage of paying for a whole household by yourself versus having help with the expenses, and having savings as a cushion to fall back on. But I just saw there was so much need and people were so excited. They're so tired of the mow and blow guys. They were just designers were like, oh my gosh, can I tell my clients they can call you? And so that's, APLD was really helpful too. And I was just turning away business. My knee and my back wouldn't like let me keep going. So, and you have to charge a lot in a fine gardening business, to make it, it feels like a lot, I should say. But to make it your primary source of income, yeah, you have to have energy, the physical ability, and charge enough to make it viable.
sure, sure.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
think for this group and a
Yeah.
lot of people we're talking to, I think the desire is to become a designer.
Yes. Good. Good.
That's the focus.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I latched onto you is because you made that transition from
Yeah.
fine gardening into design,
Hmm.
and I think that it serves two purposes. I think one from a purely business standpoint, it gets you, like you were mentioned earlier, that word of mouth going, and people get to know you, and there's a networking of your business that gets started that way.
Hmm.
But the other side of it is that you learn all the problems and the
Hmm.
difficulties that someone who doesn't maintain or doesn't do gardening doesn't get. And this is the problem with so much with landscape architecture,
I was just going to say
right?
that.
Right.
Yes, they're not
So,
taught enough about plants.
back to my old mentor, Gordon Courtwright, he said, if you really want to be a great landscape architect, you need
Mhm.
to spend 5 years in construction.
Oh,
Five
that's
years. If you want to be really great in landscape construction, you should spend 5 years in maintenance. So
ah,
basically, there was an apprenticeship.
absolutely,
We're,
absolutely.
so I think what's interesting, I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, but you're part of a little of a bit of a revolution. Because when I got started in the 70s and 80s, the whole concept of design build was a bit
Hmm.
of a new idea. We
Hmm.
did one or the other.
Yeah,
So I was a member of CLCA, California
yeah.
Landscape Contractors Association, and it was all men, no women involved.
Hmm.
Now that's not true anymore,
Not
but
turning.
it was an old boys network
Yes.
essentially, and they did construction and they talked like construction people and they acted like and dressed like construction people, and then this phenomena of design and build started to come along. Well,
Yeah.
the trend now, and I find most of our trends start in the Bay Area,
Mm.
many of them, is design maintain.
Yeah. Design, build, maintain.
Well, no, they're
Oh,
no just
design, maintain. They're
they
skipping the build.
took the
Oh,
whole build thing out of it because there'll be a sole proprietor or husband and wife team. They're
wow.
lean and mean,
Right.
and they will if they're younger,
Yep.
not my age, and have and a lot of people get into this profession not to sit behind a desk and stare at a computer.
Exactly.
So to be able to get into the garden and work in
Yep.
the garden and do pruning and do planting and
Hmm.
envisioning new things and all of that, the fun of that gets sucked out of it if you're
Yep.
just staring at a computer every day,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
drafting in AutoCAD. So
Exactly.
so but for those who are older
Hmm.
and or want to, make this the transition that you've made,
Hmm.
um, they will do the fine gardening through consultation.
Mm, hmm.
So in
Hmm.
other words, they're not actually doing the work, but they're guiding others. They're teaching
Oh,
others
that's so
to
cool.
do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Amy Palmer, for example, that used to work for her mom, Debbie Ruskin,
Mm,
a longstanding APLD person in Palo Alto, Amy started a little fine gardening service and picked up all the jobs her mother designed.
hmm.
And what she would do is she would hire students from Foothill College.
Mm, hmm.
While they were going through the 2 year program, she would train them on fine gardening and set them loose on the various properties she was responsible for. And she oversaw their work.
That's great. That's great.
But she didn't do every single physical task, you
Well,
know.
and then she could, set them to their task for a couple hours and go to someone else's house where that crew is working, and that's how you make
Exactly.
more money, right? Hmm.
Right. And the things that they knew how to do and could do well, they didn't need supervision
Sure.
for.
Right.
Things that they were doing that were more skilled, that she would train them and teach them.
Yep. Very smart. That's great. Yeah.
Did you ever get into having employees?
No, I mean, I thought about it, but I just, I couldn't see the the stage of growth to get to the point where I had like two or three trucks or something, or two or three crews, that in between of where I had one helper that I would be paying their wage plus the 35-40% additional expenses it costs to have an employee in the first place. And then charging all that to the client and getting paid only for the time I'm on site, but I'm paying this person for their full 6 or 8 hour day. Um, and so how would I make that financially doable? And so then I thought I could have somebody just meet me over at this client for a couple hours, but would it be worth it to them to drive whatever 35 minutes to work for 2 hours for 40 bucks? So I just couldn't figure out the logistics behind that.
Yeah, yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah, and then
Sure.
you're teaching, and so how do you charge your client for the time you have to show somebody how to do something when you could have had it done already? So there's all these things. So you have to really, I think if you launch yourself with a few people you trust and you could set loose, then that would be great. You know, you could really and have confidence. Maybe it's people from school that you know also care and also know about, you know, what's a little California poppy popping up versus a weed next to it, you know, leave
Yeah.
take that one out, you know. Um, so those kinds of things. I one client, I think it would be also a side note, random, but feel free to fire your clients, you know, when it's not working out. Um, I resigned one. She was very nice, but she knew a lot and she loved doing her own gardening. She was just getting older. So when I came, she would just have me pulling weeds. And so finally I said, after a year, I was like, you are overpaying for a weeder. Like you just need a Hort student who was learning the ropes and can learn from you. But you're going to pay me $55 an hour to pull weeds? That's ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
no. And that was my price, however many years ago.
See,
Uh,
I think that kind of sincerity
mhm.
in putting your customers looking at the whole arrangement from the standpoint of your customer is a important skill that's not found often in business.
Mhm.
I think people recognize very rapidly whether you're
Mhm.
sincere in what you're doing to
Yep.
benefit them or if you're
Yep.
there to take advantage of them.
Exactly.
Or there's some sort of contest between the two of you. I
Right.
mean, and I know that in out in the business world there is that ethos of, you know, get well, the getting's good and
Mhm.
to be aggressive and all of that. But in our field in horticulture, which I think is the beauty business
Hmm.
and the nature business, it
Yep.
doesn't seem appropriate at all. And I think that people recognize that when you're looking for their best interest, um, it may lead to, you know, like this situation, not working for them any longer, but
Hmm.
they're going to recommend you to everybody in the neighborhood.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
you talk a little bit more about the transition that you've experienced from your fine gardening experience to your design business?
Yeah, that was
How that happened?
it was very subtle, very natural, and almost immediate in terms of incorporating design. And it's actually how I got into this whole thing in the first place. Um, I started, you know, out wanting to be like I was like, I'm gonna be an urban farmer, you know, I'm gonna grow fruits and vegetables and forget these people and the Monsanto and the crap they're spraying on our food. But you know, land and water is so expensive in California, so I didn't want to go work at the time. It would have been like $12 an hour at some farm in Valley Center or something. So I thought, well, let me go to people's backyards and teach them how to grow vegetables, and then that way we're all growing and just kind of
That's
help.
right. You started out in edibles, didn't you?
Yep.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And then, but then the questions right away came like, well, if you're telling me I have to put the vegetable garden there, because that's where the full sun is, we were going to put our patio there. So, like, where should the patio go? So, right away, I'm being, you know, positioned with these design problems. And, and then like, or, well, we wanted to put a tree for shade. And so that would shade out the vegetables. And so, you know, so you're working around these solutions to incorporate everything and everybody should want a shade tree and should want a patio and should want vegetables and so there's always a way to make it work even if they have to go to pots on the patio for their vegetables there's always a way to find to satisfy every need and yeah I think just helping them understand how to do it all was really just the natural progression and then also learning the plants because they'd say to me, "Well, is what's this plant? Does this take a lot of water? Am I watering enough?" And I didn't even know what it was. It was like some pretty shrub. I don't know what it is, so I had to learn plant ID. And then I just kind of um, just loved it. And I love learning about all these adaptations plants have for drought, stress, and whatever else, and just all these cool things we can grow here. And yeah, so it just kind of segued naturally into the design world, and which was wonderful because then I could do garden consulting and offer the full package. And then I had friends from school who were doing the construction and going more into the contracting end. And so, you know, a lot of people I've hired or referred to clients have been fellow students that I saw them work in our labs. And I saw their real attention to detail, or that they didn't care class was over, they wanted to finish it properly. Um, those kinds of things recommended them well to me to refer them to a client that they had a good work ethic and did good work. And so everything just it just kind of you're in a world, if you go to take classes, if you learn from Jerry, if you, talk to people, go to APLD meetings, it all kind of unfolds so nicely. And there's so much support in our world. It really is not competitive. It's very much like co-opetition. Like we're all in it to make money, but we're also cooperating and collaborating.
Yeah, that's a great word.
Yeah, I learned that from a conference, from an agriculture conference. I thought it was a terrific word. Yep.
Yeah. Um, it's, I think, for if you've never been self-employed,
Mm-hmm.
it's for many people it feels like a bridge too far.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
It's you had mentioned that you had some financial cushion
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
able to get into this, and I think about it in many people's careers they leap in maybe too quickly.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Mhm.
that's probably a good object lesson to talk about a little bit is that um, maybe working part-time for others,
Yep.
like at a garden center, or something that
Absolutely.
doesn't pay that great,
You're
but
learning
it's a
all the time.
learning opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then also having time to do moonlighting things of your own
Yep.
could be one way to transition
Yep.
financially.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, if you're a single mother, with three kids,
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
and money's of paramount importance,
Mm-hmm.
then it's probably unwise to jump in too fast to these things, of course.
Yeah, and I would say for that in that case, if like health benefits or something that you are a serious consideration, that's a real,
Yep.
real thing. My husband was working for a company and we were on his insurance. So um that gave me such a level of security but then maybe you know that you want to go into it, you're studying for it, you're learning, you're bettering your skills, but while you're working at a company that provides benefits. And a lot of these garden centers do a lot of the other, there are big design firms out there, design, build, design, maintain, but they need help and they'll pay benefits. And so get the skills, have the cushion, especially while you need it. And just know you're never too old to do landscape design. It's never too late to start. So, get your
Yeah.
security and build the cushion that you need and just build your knowledge because that's really going to set you apart.
Kamala had me do a um, questionnaire
Hmm.
of the students going through 2-year programs in California,
Hmm.
of which we have 35.
Wow. I
Isn't that
didn't know that
amazing?
many. That's amazing.
Um, the average age of a Hort student going through a 2-year Hort program is 35.
That's great. That's the average age.
And a quarter of the students are over 50.
Nice. Good.
So I think you're quite right. There's no real age limit.
Mm-mm.
In fact, just yesterday I was talking to, a fellow designer who's similar in age to myself, and she said to me, she said, I everyone tells me I should retire, but I don't want to.
Good for
He
her.
says, I do want to slow down, but I'm having too much fun doing this.
There you go.
And she said, and there's all these people who need me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, uh, do you think it's the case that if you're part of a trade group of some sort, can you have you had this happen to you or people that you know where older, designers who are at the end of their careers, who are trying to slow down a little bit, will send work to younger ones or people they trust?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I've already had somebody refer people to me um and it's great. That's one of the wonderful things about being part of APLD and even a CLCA. Um yeah, that's a major, major benefit and it's nice for people who are retiring to know they've gotten to know somebody over the last 6 months or so, different, and they trust them. They've seen some of their work maybe or check their
Hmm.
website out, and then they can sort of say, yeah, I'll send, they'll send maybe to you and to like two or three other designers and let the client choose who they want to work with. And, or you can just be their go-to person and it's all about how it unfolds. But that's for sure a great way of yeah, getting business and extricating yourself a little bit as you want to have some more free time. One lady I know just wants to spend more time with her grandchildren. So she's pulling back to do that, to travel more. And she doesn't want to be out of the industry, but she wants to definitely free herself up.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, did you find that announcing yourself to the contractors, local contractors, was a source of generating business?
Oh, I haven't.
You haven't. You
No,
haven't
I've
had a
just
need. You have had no
had a
need
need
to.
to. No, but several of them are members of APLD, so I've gotten to know more that way. And yeah, one of them,
Maybe in your case, it's the other way around.
yeah, they come to
You
us.
want to know about them
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you need
exactly.
their assistance
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
recommend for install. Do you purchase the plants for your customers?
No, and I'm glad you asked about that. You need a reseller's permit, which I did apply for and I did get. I've had it for 3 years. I just gave it up formally to the whatever government agency because you have to do it's a whole third tax return. So you have your return personal, you have your corporate return to do, and then you have this reseller's tax return for the sales tax. Um, and there was one option to choose, which was project, like contracted total rate. And so you could say, I did this much in sales, but I did $0 that need to be filed for taxes because it was all under a project fee. And so that's just all I did, project fee. And so I let the contractors buy the plants. I did the sourcing in many cases, most cases, unless I was working with another designer who I do work with, Nan Sturman, and she'll order. She has great relationships, and she's very willing and able, and to to send to the different suppliers lists that she needs, and they'll come back with all of their availability and stuff. That side of it, the plant sourcing, is my least favorite thing besides filing taxes. So um, I love to go plant shopping in person, but to trying to find the plants, that's the little thing, So if you're going to buy the plants yourself, you have to enjoy the sourcing element, and you have to,
Yeah,
which I still end up doing some sourcing, obviously, for my own jobs, but let the contractors just pay for them and pick them
right.
up, and they can mark them up or whatever they do, delivery fee, and charge the client. So I'm just kind of out of that.
That's been. Um, we got 15 minutes here before
Yeah.
we're going to let
Oh, can
Joselle
I make
go.
one side note
Yes.
on that? There are some designers who are happy to use the reseller's permit. They mark up the plants to their clients, and for a lot of them, it's kind of a big part of their bread and butter. And you can make a lot of because you are spending so much time going through Plant Master, finding alternatives, finding what's available, finding other things. Now it's available in a 15 gallon, but you want a 1 or a 5 gallon. So there's so much time involved. So you make sure you get paid for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you either are billing into your project rate as a designer or you're marking up the plants or, a little bit of both. But you can make a lot of money doing that. And it just means if you don't mind paperwork, then do the reseller's permit and absolutely do that. It's a great way to make
It's a
money.
profit source.
It's a major profit source.
It's always surprised me so many designers fail to get either a contractor's license or a reseller's license.
Yeah.
I think spotting the plants, buying the plants, not only is a good idea for money purposes or
Yeah.
financial purposes, but I think you're going to get better results, garden results.
Yeah.
The contractors, as I used to be, are in a rush.
Yeah. Oh, we spot
They're
the plants. I always spot. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
and you should be paid to do so.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just wanted to mention that go ahead and use your Zoom question hand up thing. I'm going to open it up to anyone to ask questions of Giselle. I'm going to keep going until I see hands come up.
There are a couple in the chat, Jerry. Do you see those?
I did not see them.
Mhm.
Okay, let's jump into those so we have time for them. Did you need a class in pruning, or do you think you can self-educate?
That's great. I would say if you can get a class, fantastic. If you're going to go to online, like YouTube things, please watch a variety of people. Yeah. There are people telling you this is how you do this, and they're absolutely wrong. Um, and caveat to that is with horticulture, with the plant world, these are living things, and we're putting it into living soil. And so much of the answer is it depends. So there are things that work perfectly well for somebody, and they could tell the world this is what works, but it might be wrong for everybody else. So we have to have patience, but understand that not everyone's intentionally or, just sharing bad information, but it doesn't always work for everybody else. And so the more you can learn from more sources, then you can say, okay, 85% of the people I've just been watching videos for are all saying to do it this way. Like this one random person who's in Thailand with very different weather, it works for them, but that's not going to apply to me here.
Right, 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 right.
Anyway, so
It's kind of something you can't learn enough about.
you can't.
I think it's just ongoing.
Well,
It's like
and
your whole
yeah,
career. You're
yeah,
gonna be
and
learning, getting better at it.
they keep learning. Science keeps showing us, like in the 70s and 80s, and the nurseries still sell, they call it wound sealer or wound paint. Never use this. Never cover a wound. The best things for healing, it's the wrong word to use, but for letting a wound close is sunlight and oxygen. So you don't want to have cuts. Like if you have to root prune, you do it very carefully, but really to have it buried in soil or a piece touching the soil, that's going to rot more easily. So you try and keep things off the soil when you can. But so learning what you can, understanding why this is the right way to do it is really important. So if you are going to self-educate, there are beautiful books. In fact, one of the classic books, oh, I don't have it right here, um, is it's
Then the name is good
pruning.
enough. We'll take note of it and I'll find it.
Yeah, gosh, what is it? It's just like How to Prune Fruit Trees and Roses. Um, and that was written, it's Stafford, I think his name is Safford or Stafford. Where did I put it? Anyway, I'm trying to sort books out for for a plant sale and a silent auction. Anyway, so he basically and the new printings, they're available at different nurseries and Amazon too. They even make reference to now science. The foreword says, the author mentions the wound seal paint, and now science has proven not to use that. But we left the text intact because it's how it was originally written. So just be mindful, don't just open to, oh, pruning apple trees and, read the foreword, and
Right.
be mindful, get some education wherever you can. But pruning carefully and properly is one of the most important, if not the most important thing, because plants can survive a lot, but the damage to their limbs is really one of the hardest things for them to recover from.
Mother Nature's resilient,
Yeah.
and that's maybe just a caveat to what you're saying.
hmm
It's probably a good idea not to be afraid to make a mistake
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
because
I mean,
you
yeah.
learn from your mistakes, and that's where the wisdom comes. The
hmm
wisdom comes from experience.
Yep.
And
Yep.
the really cool thing I think about our profession is it's not school based. It's experience based.
It's experience based. Yeah. So
And
much of it.
so you probably should adopt the attitude of a scientist who's experimenting all the time
Yeah, for sure.
and
For
trying to
sure.
figure out what works.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and be patient with yourself when it
And be
doesn't or you
patient.
make a mistake.
Yeah,
For
right.
sure. Let's see, other questions. And feel free to raise your hand. It'd be nice to hear other voices than mine.
Am I?
Let's
How
see.
long before you started charging for consultations?
Yeah, let's hear that.
Yeah, I think probably. I think when I first started doing design and these things, I was charging so cheap because I thought of myself as an intern. And so I did whole like hand-drawn things, not beautiful, everything to scale perfect drawings, but I did the whole drawing. And some of them were pretty good. But for like 150 bucks. Because I tell the client, this is a ridiculous price, but I'm learning. And so I want you to understand that you're getting this phenomenal price, but also because I consider myself an intern. And I did that for about a year. And then I realized, my gosh, this all worked out fine. So
Uh-huh.
I think I know enough now I can start charging more. And yeah, so now I was doing 150 for a consultation, and now I do like 250 or something. It depends on how far I have to travel, and because I end up also coming home and doing work. I send them a plant list from Plant Master, just some ideas. We talked about these 5 plants in the front and these 4 in back or whatever, and here's some like, a little launch pad for you and whatever, and other resources I mentioned to them to pursue. A lot of people want to be like more DIY, so the consultation is a great way to go. And I think it's a great way to see how you like doing design and get comfortable talking to clients because you can be in and out. It's a limited, confined, day of your life. But it gets you kind of the wheels going and greases the wheels, I guess is the right phrase for doing more, longer, ongoing with client relationships.
Yeah. Someone's asking, what is the usual markup for plants?
Interestingly, I've talked to a lot of designers and it really varies. Some of them do double. I know someone who does triple. And so, and the thing is, the more you buy from certain nurseries, the better discount they give you. So the markup can end up being like maybe even quadruple because you've gotten such a great price because of your repeat business. So I think it varies, but I think between double and triple is common.
Hmm. Someone's asking, what business structure did you form?
S
Sole
corp.
proprietor, S corp.
Yeah, so S corp because of the protection offered. With LLC, from what I remember, I don't want to be incorrect about this, but I think LLC they can still take your house if, essentially if but get insurance, by the way. Flip side of the coin is get insurance. Um, and always say in your design, this is conceptual. And I must use that word, I don't know, 50 times with clients. They have to hear from me all the time. This is a concept. This is conceptual. This is an artistic rendering. This is I just kind of keep reiterating to them that the
It's like a
contractor,
disclaimer in a
yes,
sense.
disclaimer, exactly. So I just kind of drill it into them like this is a concept. Things might change. The contractor will say whether it works or not. Da 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 da. And so I kind of put the onus on the contractor, and it's not on me to say that you should dig right here because I don't know if your gas pipe is there. The contractor will come and they'll call 811 and da da da. So um, yeah, get insurance, but the LLC, I don't believe, I think the maintenance of that business is much easier than it being a corporation. There's less admin, I believe. And so if you have the right insurance, and I know people who are LLCs and they do a lot of business, and they're perfectly happy to be LLC. Um, I just, we just did S Corp. We are
Yeah.
comfortable there. Yeah. Hmm.
Maggie, go ahead. Unmute
Yeah,
and let's hear from you.
Hmm.
cool, thanks. And just to quickly follow up, what kind of insurance would you recommend? Or if you're going that sort of like similar business structure that you're operating as like
Hmm.
consultant, concept, not contractor, etc.
Yeah, it's liabilities and
Errors and
something.
omissions.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you're covered for not just your plan, but if you're on site and you actually do like take a trowel to the ground and hit something, so you're physically covered, physical damage, but also your concept, your rendering is not going to put you in trouble. But people also include on their drawings sometimes this is an artistic concept or whatever. Hmm. Errors and
Um,
omissions. It
Thank you.
was, yeah, it was 1400. It's expensive. You have to, that whole that's all those things that you price into your business, your charges that you could charge people, like your car, everything.
I don't know.
Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how to raise my hand for some reason.
Uh,
You've been good
well,
time. I saw
you actually did a
that.
pretty good job of it.
Just on the note, I just actually signed up for business insurance yesterday, or I re-signed up because I kind of got, I don't want to say scammed, but I kind of got overcharged
Oh,
because I think they kind of heard what I do and thought maybe I'm a contractor or I have
mhm.
some like
Yes,
contracting that I'm doing.
yes.
Um, most of the business insurances categorize it as landscape architecture if you are just doing design. If you're doing actual install stuff, I think it's,
Yeah, yeah.
they will charge you more. But yeah, mine's like half the price
Oh, that's
for
great.
just design.
And so, what do they recommend? Like $1 million coverage? What do you have?
Yeah, it's 2 million for general liability and 1 million for E&O.
Okay, and can I ask what you're paying monthly?
Yeah, it's I just 104.
Okay, that's
And
really
they
good.
have and it's next. ERGO next. And they also have a referral thing. So I'll put my thing in
There you
the
go.
I'll
Put
put my
it
thing in
in.
the chat.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
please
But I
do.
did have I did have a question.
Okay.
So one of the things that I've been struggling with for a while is sort of the oversight during installation.
Yep.
What model do you use?
I tell my clients that I can be on site and they can, I'll charge them as a sort of a project manager.
Mhm.
And I think it's very important to be there. First of all, it's your design, your baby. You want to see it fleshed out as close to true as possible. There are always things that come up, like they can't put the pathway exactly here because there's a gigantic tree root, or da, 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 da. So it's got to move over. Where do you want it? So you're designing on the fly a lot, even with
Mhm.
plants. You get them on site and you think all of a sudden, oh wait, these might not be great here. In fact, they'd be
They
really good
look
there.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very much a feeling thing. So, but in terms of even the days when they're just kind of yanking stuff out of the ground or whatever, be there. There are a lot of times, and I think we've all been like, have you ever had a bad haircut and you're like, bye, thank you, yeah, it's great, and you feel
Mhm.
bad saying, oh my gosh, this is terrible. So for for clients, they don't know, they feel awkward saying like, oh, I really wish you wouldn't do that. Even if it's language that the crew is using or music they're playing, as a project manager on site, have no problem saying, guys, I'd rather you didn't have the music playing just for the neighbors so that they don't get
Yeah.
complaints. So I can be that intermediary and the toughie,
Yeah.
and give the client's wishes to the worker.
You're like the liaison.
Exactly, exactly.
So how do you charge for that? Like, what is your structure? Because I am struggling with like actually enforcing an hourly. Um,
Hmm.
and I keep thinking I've got it all written up and set up to do a flat package, a support design implementation support package.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I
think,
just, yeah.
yeah. Calculate your hours that you expect. That's from the contractor. It's going to, we'll be there for 3 days, 8 days, 12 days, whatever. Add your time. So total it up, but then add to that 10-15% additional hours. Um, just plan for that. And then there's a lot of back and forth that you're going to get texts and emails and things change. And so you have to add for that. And then I also always say plus an hourly rate of whatever dollars for anything exceeding this number of hours. So
So you give them an actual amount of hours and how many site visits you're gonna
hmm
have,
Yeah, and I
and
sort of a plan.
you present that at the beginning, or it's all included in the design fee.
No, you should separate your design
Yep.
fee. So design is it's one thing, it's one
Yep.
deliverable. Here's your design. And by the way, side note, if you hand them a printout and you walk away, you've now made a sale of an actual object. You're supposed to charge sales tax. But if the drawing is yours and you say, "Oh, I can email you this file," there's no sales tax. So
Hmm.
just
Good
Interesting.
to
yeah, it's
know.
very weird and interesting, but if you want to be like, to the law, that's just a good thing to know. But sorry, the separate thing, you when they have your design, they're happy, you say, okay, they'll say, well, do you have any contractors you recommend? Sure. We can go into phase two and I'll write you up a new contract for that. And that's a whole other thing that you do. Phase
So
two.
you don't even give them the contractor referral until like at the end where you say, okay, all right, we're going to phase two, and then you are charging based on your calculated hours.
Hmm.
But have you introduced that to them at the very beginning of the process? Sorry, I'm taking up so much time.
I think it's probably helpful to everybody else. It's a
I
good
think these
question.
are questions
Yeah.
everyone wants
Yeah.
to hear
Yeah.
answers to.
So you let them know up front, here's how I work. There's a phase one, there's a phase two, and you sell them phase two, like this is, something Nan taught me. You let them know, you're spending all this money on this wonderful design, and if you want it to come to fruition as planned, then, I really suggest you do hire me for phase two. That would be the best way to make sure it happens. It's
Mhm.
totally up to you, Mr. Client, no pressure. But let's, just know that there would be a
It
phase.
is optional, but it's encouraged.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then and you can refer them to contractors without, charging them for that time. Here's a few names.
Yeah.
But they often will want you to be there and you really should be there to meet the contractor.
Totally.
And now you're on the clock. So it's kind of like if that somehow in the schedule happens before they've signed phase two and given you a deposit, like half of the money up front for that, then just build it into your contract that you've already done that, met with three contractors those hours. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Let's do one more question if you're willing, Giselle,
I'm sure.
because Debbie asked a whole bunch. So Debbie, so Debbie, I'm going to let you choose one of them. Can you unmute and just ask her which one of your question? I don't have time to read it, so I was just glancing and I saw three or four things from you. Go ahead and ask one of your questions, and then we're going to call it an eve or
It's actually all
afternoon.
the same. Like, where do you find a contractor to do the bills? Like,
Oh, where do you find so definitely if you join like APLD, then you meet other designers and you ask them who are some contractors that you use that you've liked. And then you can also just look around at different installations happening, different work sites going on and see if you see a name on a truck. In school and classes, look around. I think just, really looking around, but asking people. It doesn't hurt to, you can even go to, for example, I went to a rock boulder supply company, and the salesperson there, he was such a cool guy, this guy, Steve. And I said, Steve, who are some good contractors that you get a lot of business from that you think are really on the ball? And he gave me some names.
But
And
anyhow, I'm very, very grateful to you. I want to thank
sure.
you from the bottom of my heart,
Aw.
from my heart to your heart.
Thank you for
And
inviting me to be part of this. I think it's a wonderful thing.
yeah,
And
yeah,
for
we're
everybody
we're
here, good luck. I think it's more of us need to be out here doing it and just promoting the ecology of the world around us and just helping people.
absolutely
Yep.
we're a tribe. We're
Yeah, we're a
definitely a
tribe.
tribe, and we're on and we have a mission. I've
I'm
always
putting,
felt that there was something evangelical slightly in horticulture because we're all trying to get people to love nature the way we do, you
yep,
know?
I'm putting something in the chat. This guy. Doug Tallamy. He wrote On the Nature of Oaks, which is a wonderful book. Jordan's nodding her head. She's a fan. Yeah, so he's a major inspiration to me. I've also there's masterclass, this English Noel Kingsbury, and a few Neil Garrett, I think his name is. Anyway, and Pete Aldolf in the Netherlands. He did the High Line in New York. They're all working towards like planting for ecology for the local flora and fauna, and just really supporting caterpillars and worms. And we tell our clients all the time, like, do not spray. You want caterpillars. You tell me you want butterflies, but then don't spray the caterpillars. So, we try and just, really teach and educate, but definitely learn about the ecology of your local area.